So now that we have our create hub connection and we've got our stop hub connection, let's now create the action to actually add a comment. So I'll add another action, and this is going to be called add comment. And this is going to receive the values from our form, and I'm just going to set this to a type of any in this case. And what we want to do is get the ID of the activity. So I'm going to say values.id equals list.activity dot, and once again we'll need to use the exclamation mark, activity ID. Now I've called this ID because this needs to match what we have going on inside our create comment. So if I look at the create comment, what we have inside here is our activity ID, and this is actually called activity ID, so we actually need to make this values.activity ID rather than just ID. And we're going to set this equal to this.activity ID. And let's make this an async method as well. And then we'll add our try catch block. And pass in the error. And we'll just say console.log in the case of there's an error. And what we want to do in this case is say await this.hub connection. And again, this could be null, so we need to use the exclamation mark. And then what we want to do is invoke the method on the server in our chat hub. And in this case, this one's going to be the send comments. And we'll pass up the values in this case. And this name, send comment, needs to match exactly with what's going on inside our chat hub. So in this case, this is the method name that we're calling here directly from our client in our activity store. So we're not using Axios for this, we're simply invoking the method on the server directly from our client. And then what we want to do is head over to our activity detailed chat component. So I'm just going to open this up. And what we want to do in here is bring in our activity store into this component. So as per usual, we'll add the root store and set this equal to use context. And we'll say root store context. And then we'll just destructure the properties we want from our activity store. So we'll say root store dot activity store. And what we need inside here is the create hub connection, the stop hub connection, the add comment, and we'll also need the activity as well. And what we'll do first of all is we'll connect to the hub, and to do that we'll need the use effect React hook. So what we'll do in here, we'll say use effect, and in here we'll just say create hub connection. And what we want to do as well is we want to return the stop hub connection so that when we clean up after ourselves, as in we leave this component, we stop the hub connection. So what I'll do is I'm going to say return and then stop hub connection. And we'll need to pass in these methods as dependencies. So we'll say create hub connection and stop hub connection. Now before we do anything else, let's test our ability to connect to the store, because we should see the information in our console about our connection as soon as we go to an activity details page. So let's go across to the browser, and I'm inside an activity, and I'm just going to open up the console, and we're getting some errors, but let's make sure these persist after we refresh the page. So I'm just going to refresh the page, and sure enough we get the same errors again. And let's take a look at the errors inside our console and see what it says. And what we get here is access to localhost chat negotiate from origin has been blocked by cause. And the value of the access control allow credentials header in the response is nothing, which must be true when the request credentials mode is include. Now, because SignalR sends the authentication in a different way to how we're doing it inside our normal API requests, what we also need to add to our CORS headers is allow credentials. And what we'll need to do to get past this is go back to VS Code and go back to our startup class, and we'll find where we're defining our CORS policy, and it's this one here. And what we also need to do, as well as the with origins, we'll need to allow credentials. And this will get us past that particular error. And if we go back and refresh the browser once again, what we should find is that we now make a connection to our chat hub. And we can see inside the user messages here that we're connected to localhost 5000 chats over the WebSocket protocol. We can see that we're sending up our access token as a query string, and it's called access_token, and that's the token we're using that we're logged in as. And this looks good. What we can do next is actually add our form so that we can send our comments up to the server, and we should see them coming back live into our client, and we'll look at that next.